somewhere along your path of awakening, maybe after a deep insight or a quiet breakdown, something inside you shifted. You saw the illusion, the endless chase, the noise, and then silence. At first, that silence felt powerful, but slowly, meaning began to fade. Not suddenly, just quietly. Like your soul turned the volume down and forgot to turn it back up. You stopped chasing. You stopped caring, not out of apathy, but from that quiet sigh of, what's the point? And the question began to whisper louder. Why do I feel numb now that I finally see the truth? We expect awakening to ignite us, but for many, the seekers, the empaths, the ones who look inward, it does the opposite. It empties us. I once spoke to a friend who experienced a deep awakening after years of searching. She said she finally saw through illusion, the ego, the need for validation. Yet months later, she could barely get out of bed. I thought awakening would light me up, she said. Instead, it left me hollow. Carl Jung understood this long before modern spirituality turned it into a trend. He said, enlightenment doesn't come by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And that sounds inspiring until you realize what it means. Awakening isn't the end. It's the beginning of a psychological death. The death of who you thought you were. The old structures, career, goals, even your sense of identity collapse. But the ego doesn't vanish. It just loses its map. And without that map, motivation disappears. You're not broken. You're simply between worlds, awake from something, but not yet awake into something new. What you're feeling isn't failure. It's a sacred pause. Jung called it essential for true individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self. But our modern world fears stillness. It labels it as laziness or loss of direction. Yet this in-between phase is where real transformation begins. For most of your life, your motivation came from your identity, the person you believed yourself to be. You chased approval, success, love. That's normal. But awakening strips away the mask. Suddenly, you see the game, and you no longer want to play it. Your old goals don't fit anymore. They belonged to someone you no longer are. So you stand there, script in hand, realizing the play has ended, but you're still on stage. You didn't lose drive. You outgrew the fuel that powered it. Jung called this next step individuation, aligning the ego with something larger, the self, the quiet center that connects you to everything. And this self doesn't care about status or clarity. It only seeks truth. So as awakening unfolds, your psyche begins to reject anything fake or forced. Jobs, relationships, ambitions, everything that once defined you starts to dissolve. But if you stop here, you get stuck. Many people do. They float in detachment, believing nothing matters. They confuse emptiness with stillness. But the self doesn't want you to escape the world. It wants to live through you, to bring the sacred into the ordinary. Jung called this strange middle point enantiodromia, when things flip into their opposite. After awakening, your inner pendulum swings from striving to stillness, from I must do everything to why do anything? And that swing is sacred. It's how balance restores itself. In myth, this is the cocoon phase, when the caterpillar turns to liquid before becoming a butterfly. You're not gone, you're transforming. And yes, transformation feels like stillness because the deeper self is building something real. Our culture skips this part, teaching only stay positive or follow your joy. But Jung would say, if you skip the darkness, you skip the gold. This pause you're in isn't failure, it's integration. Your psyche slows motivation on purpose so you can feel what you've ignored, reclaim what you've buried, and rebuild from truth. And then something quiet begins to rise, not the old fire of chasing, but a deeper flame. Motivation returns, but now it's rooted in alignment, not anxiety. You begin to move from soul instead of ego. You don't hustle, you respond. You're no longer driven by fear of missing out, but guided by what feels honest. You start creating without needing validation. You choose peace over performance. This is living symbolically, what Jung called the symbolic life, where intuition, dreams, and synchronicities become your compass. So instead of asking, "What should I do?" ask, "What's quietly calling me?" Instead of, "How can I prove myself?" ask, "What feels true?" You stop trying to dominate life and begin to participate with it. This doesn't mean giving up ambition, it means transforming it. Ambition becomes devotion, creation becomes expression, action becomes alignment. And from here, things finally start to flow again, not from pressure, but from presence. So, if you've been feeling numb after awakening, remember, it's not that your spark is gone, it's that the old flame burned out, making space for a gentler, wiser fire. You're not falling behind, you're becoming whole. This isn't the end of awakening, it's the beginning of becoming.